Hello and good evening. My name is Marissa Bradley, and today we are going to be talking about citizen journalism and the role it continues to play in news organizations today. What is citizen journalism? It is a type of journalism that is conducted by people who are not professional journalists. These people spread information through websites, blogs, social media platforms, but they do this without any training, meaning most of these citizen journalism are self-taught. Anyone can become a citizen journalist because there is no barrier to entry on the internet. Concerns associated with citizen journalism comes as if they are as reliable as professional journalists. A lot of people question how these citizen journalisms not only write but portray these stories that they are not trained to do so, which can create problems because people count on news organizations to be truthful and unbiased, and citizen journalists don't hold themselves to that same code of ethics that trained ones do. The future of citizen journalism is going to have a part in the news world regardless, because as technology continues to advance, the use of technology will continue to grow. The internet has spawned thousands of news sites and bloggers. Traditional news media outlets are battling declining readership and viewership. So many newspapers have invited people to contribute community news to their websites. They're asking their viewers to contribute their media, their pictures, their videos, their words to their news outlets, and they are then configuring that information into professional stories. Citizen journalism has become increasingly more popular because of the rise of smartphones. As technology continues to grow, so will citizen journalism. Many news executives are implementing some sort of citizen journalism in their major news organizations. Because of the decline of readership and viewership, they are needing to become creative with methods of getting that viewership back up. Citizen journalism is a way to get more people to read and view your news stories again. Before the internet, only professional journalists had access to technology and the organizational infrastructure and tools that professional journalists have, and an audience. But now with the internet, things are changing, and anyone can have an audience if the story is good enough. The future of citizen journalism will continue to grow because citizens at the scene report breaking news faster than traditional news teams. So as people continue to carry around their technology with them, they will have it on site of wherever this breaking story is taking place. Twitter is a key component and platform for citizen journalism. For example, Whitney Houston's death was reported on Twitter over an hour before any mainstream press picked it up to report it. Also, the live chase of the men guilty of the Boston Marathon bombings, the news channels relied heavily on the updates of citizens living in the area. These are two major examples of how citizen journalism is changing and reshaping the way news, especially hard news, is broken now to everyday citizens. The everyday citizen is breaking it to the everyday citizen. So the controversy over it will continue to grow. Everyone has their thoughts on it. Some people believe it's important to the news world. Some people believe it causes more harm than good. The issue with it is people can start to accept citizen journalism, and that can often be biased stories. Trained professionals are taught and repeatedly told not to be biased when they write, because that is the job of a journalist. Citizen journalists do not have the training or resources that trained professionals do, which ultimately could compromise the quality and content of the news story. Breaking news stories cause controversy over this because many people say citizen journalists should not be writing these type of news stories, so small details aren't missed and the story is properly worded. Information provided is not looked at as reliable compared to if it was coming from an established news organization. These are just some things that people believe can have the downside to citizen journalism, or the con, in other words. So, what's going on with citizen journalism now and why it's more important than ever is because of the coronavirus, which has revealed the true importance of citizen journalism. It has become more important than ever because of the pandemic and the world and the economy coming to a standstill and shutting down. Citizen journalists are giving us a look inside what the lockdown is like in other countries, other states, other places that otherwise journalists, professional ones, couldn't get into. It is becoming increasingly more harder for paid journalists to get into places to report and gather their own media, because now there are limiting numbers of people. So if a citizen is already living in a place and they don't have to get in for other measures, then right at their fingertips they can report this story that a professional journalist wouldn't otherwise have access to in the middle of the pandemic. Now, how do I feel about citizen journalism? In my opinion, citizen journalism is very important to the public, because if the trained professional journalist fails to report the story for the average citizen to understand, the citizen journalism is a helpful second option and outlet to report the news. However, citizen journalists will never be able to bridge the gap between the news and the way trained professional journalists report and write stories. Citizen journalism can be very helpful, for example, in a natural disaster situation. Someone trapped in a flood can send out live video or picture footage that a journalist wouldn't otherwise be able to capture independently. In my opinion, hard news or breaking news stories should be left to the professionals. Professional journalists have more resources and training compared to the citizen journalism world. For example, a crime news story. Professionals would know how to break that type of story and the correct way to word that type of story if it were a shooting story, for example. There needs to be quality sources and professional sources as well as citizen sources. Overall, I believe citizen journalism works best when it is accompanying a professional story compared to its being its own entity. So if a citizen journalism story comes out to support an already published professional journalism story, then that is when they are most effective and most reliable. To end this presentation is a diagram of citizen journalism in the mainstream media. As you can see, the trust in the media has gone down. It has continued to go down over the years. And this could have something to do with citizen journalism, because now people are grouping together that news they see may not be accurate, but it could not be from professionals that put it out. So you have to check who is putting out the news stories. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.